Ever wondered why, despite all your efforts, happiness seems to elude you? Sometimes the answer lies not in the grand gestures, but in the seemingly insignificant daily habits that shape our lives. Unbeknownst to many, these habits, both good and bad, are intricately intertwined with a chemical in our brains called dopamine. Dopamine, a neurotransmitter, plays a crucial role in how we feel pleasure. It's our brain's way of giving us a pat on the back when we do something right. It's the good job message that keeps us motivated and focused. But here's the kicker. Too much of this good job message can actually create a cycle that's hard to break out of. Imagine your brain is like a well-tuned orchestra with dopamine as the conductor. When the conductor starts to play too loudly, the harmony is lost. The same happens with dopamine. When there's too much of it, our brain's reward system goes haywire. We start to seek instant gratification, be it through binge-watching shows, constantly checking social media, or indulging in unhealthy food. This constant need for instant pleasure creates a vicious cycle. The more we get, the more we want. And the more we want, the less satisfied we feel with what we have. We become like hamsters on a wheel, running tirelessly but never really getting anywhere. But it's not all doom and gloom. There's a silver lining to this cloud. The beauty of our brains is that they are malleable. We can change our habits, and in doing so, change the way our brains work. So here's the key takeaway. It's not just about what you do, but also about what you're not doing. That's where dopamine detox comes in. It's about breaking free from the chains of instant gratification and learning to appreciate the simple joys of life. It's about resetting our brains and finding a balance that brings us genuine, long-lasting happiness. Stick around as we delve deeper into this fascinating concept in our next segment. But first, let's break down what dopamine actually is. Have you ever wondered what makes you reach for that extra piece of chocolate, or why you feel a surge of joy when you hear your favorite song? That's dopamine at work. Dopamine is a type of neurotransmitter, a chemical messenger that transmits signals in the brain and other areas of the body. It plays a significant role in how we feel pleasure. It's a big part of our unique human ability to think and plan. But dopamine isn't just about pleasure, it's also about anticipation. It's the anticipation of a reward, not the actual reward itself, that gets our dopamine flowing. It's what psychologists call the reward prediction error. It's not just about getting what you want, it's about getting more than what you expected. Now here's where things get interesting. Dopamine also plays a critical role in a process called dopamine sensitization. What does this mean? Well, over time, as you expose yourself to high levels of dopamine, say from binge-watching your favorite show or eating lots of sugary foods, you actually rewire your brain to always want and indeed require these high levels of dopamine to feel the same level of reward or pleasure. This is why after eating a whole tub of ice cream, you might find a simple apple doesn't quite cut it, or after a weekend Netflix marathon, reading a book might feel like a chore. It's not that these activities aren't enjoyable, but your brain, now used to high levels of dopamine, finds them less rewarding. In essence, dopamine is like a double-edged sword. It can bring pleasure, but too much of it can lead to dissatisfaction and unhappiness. It's about finding the right balance, understanding our brain's mechanisms, and making conscious choices that lead to long-term happiness rather than short-term gratification. Because remember, it's not the dopamine itself that's an issue, it's our relationship with it. Now let's dive into the concept of dopamine detox. Imagine your brain as a bustling city with dopamine as the currency that keeps it running. Now what happens when that currency loses its value? That's right, the city falls into chaos. This is precisely what happens to our brains when we're constantly overloading it with dopamine-releasing activities. Dopamine detox is like hitting the reset button on your brain's economy. It's a period where you intentionally abstain from activities that typically flood your brain with dopamine. These could be anything from scrolling through social media, binge-watching shows on Netflix, to indulging in junk food, smoking, and drinking. Why do we need a dopamine detox, you ask? Well, the answer lies in how our brains react to constant dopamine stimulation. You see, when we continually engage in activities that release high amounts of dopamine, our brains adapt by reducing the number of receptors. The result? We need more and more dopamine to feel the same level of satisfaction. This is known as dopamine sensitization. It's a vicious cycle. The more you indulge, the more you need to feel satisfied. And the more you need, the more you indulge. Dopamine detox helps break this cycle by giving your brain a much-needed break. A detox isn't about punishing yourself or denying yourself pleasure. It's about helping your brain recalibrate and regain its sensitivity to dopamine. When you abstain from dopamine-spiking activities, you're allowing your brain to recover its equilibrium. As a result, simple pleasures start feeling more satisfying again. Now you might be thinking that a dopamine detox sounds like a tough challenge, and you're right, it can be, but remember, the goal isn't to eliminate all dopamine-releasing activities from your life forever. It's about taking a step back, understanding your habits, and finding a healthier balance. So what's the bottom line? Dopamine detox is a way to reset your brain and reclaim your happiness. It's about shifting your focus from instant gratification to long-term satisfaction. It's a journey, not a destination, and every step you take brings you closer to a more fulfilling life. Dopamine detox is a way to reset your brain and reclaim your happiness. Ready to start your dopamine detox journey? Here's how. Our first step on the path to dopamine detox is understanding the concept of delayed gratification. The idea here is to engage in activities that don't immediately flood your brain with dopamine, but rather provide a more gradual and sustained release. Think of this like a slow drip feed of happiness, rather than a sudden rush. The beauty of these activities is that they tend to be healthier and more fulfilling in the long run. And the best part? There are a host of these activities that you can incorporate into your daily life. Let's start with meditation. It's a practice that allows you to train your attention, heighten awareness, and bring mental processes under greater voluntary control. It's not about clearing your mind, but rather becoming comfortable with your thoughts and feelings. With time, you'll notice that you're not as easily swayed by the dopamine-driven urges of instant gratification. Next, consider incorporating regular workouts into your routine. Physical activity, especially aerobic exercise, is known to naturally boost dopamine levels and improve mood. But remember, the aim here is not to become a marathon runner overnight. Start small with exercises that you enjoy and can sustain. Reading is another fantastic delayed gratification activity. The pleasure of immersing yourself in a good book is a slow burn, building up as you get more and more invested in the narrative. It's a far cry from the instant but fleeting dopamine hit you get from scrolling through social media. Now let's talk about diet. Cutting out sugar and caffeine can play a big role in your dopamine detox journey. Both of these substances cause a rapid, short-lived spike in dopamine, followed by a crash. Replacing them with a balanced diet that includes lots of fruits, vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains can help normalize your dopamine levels and keep your mood stable. Journaling is another powerful tool in your dopamine detox arsenal. It allows you to reflect on your thoughts and feelings and can provide a sense of accomplishment and self-awareness that is far more satisfying than any instant dopamine hit. Finally, remember the importance of balance. It's not about completely eliminating all sources of dopamine from your life. It's about creating a healthier relationship with dopamine where you're in control, not your cravings. So are you ready to embark on this journey? Remember, it's not a sprint but a marathon. It's about making small, sustainable changes that add up to a big difference in your happiness and well-being. Remember, the journey to dopamine detox is not about deprivation, but about finding balance and reclaiming control over your happiness. The path to a healthier, happier you starts now. A dopamine detox isn't just a trend or a fad, it's an opportunity for you to reclaim control over your life and your happiness. It's about recognizing the power of delayed gratification and the satisfaction that comes with achieving long-term goals. It's about choosing to prioritize your mental health and personal growth over instant gratification. This isn't going to be easy. You'll have to fight against the urge to indulge in activities that give you a quick dopamine rush, whether it's binge-watching your favorite show, scrolling endlessly through social media, or reaching for that sugary snack. But let me assure you, the struggle will be worth it. As you embark on this journey of dopamine detox, you'll start to notice some incredible changes. You'll find joy in the simple things again. You'll be more focused, more productive, and more in tune with your own thoughts and feelings. You'll find a renewed sense of purpose and direction. Your relationships will deepen, your self-esteem will grow, and your overall happiness will skyrocket. But how do you keep going when the going gets tough? How do you stay motivated and committed to your dopamine detox? First, remember why you started. Remember the feeling of constant distraction, the lack of fulfillment, the craving for more and more stimulation. Remember how it felt to be a slave to your dopamine cravings, and then remember the promise of a healthier, happier you. Second, set realistic, achievable goals. Don't try to cut out all sources of dopamine at once. Start small, maybe by limiting your screen time or replacing junk food with healthier options. Celebrate your small victories. They are stepping stones to your larger goals. Third, find support. Whether it's a friend who's also doing a dopamine detox, a supportive family member, or an online community, having someone to share your experiences with can make a world of difference. Lastly, practice self-compassion. There will be days when you slip up, when you give in to your cravings. And that's okay. It's not about being perfect. It's about making progress. So, are you ready? Are you ready to take the first step towards a healthier, happier you? Are you ready to experience the incredible benefits of a dopamine detox? The journey ahead may be challenging. There will be obstacles and setbacks. But remember, the greater the struggle, the sweeter the victory. And you're not alone. We're all on this journey together. Remember, the journey may be tough, but the rewards are well worth it. Never give up on your quest for happiness.